5.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Breakfast with Bob, our Challenge Roth edition. My name is Bob Babbitt. We are brought to you by HOKA, Fly Human Fly, SFuels, right fuel, right time, Master Spas, deboer wetsuits, Premium Plus Sports, and of course our Challenge Athletes Foundation. Our next guest, one of the true legends of the sport of triathlon, 5-time winner here at Challenge Roth, Mr. Jurgen Zack. How you doing, Jurgen?
Good, thank you, Bob, and thank you for inviting me.
It's always such a treat. I was chatting with one of the athletes yesterday, and actually it was like, I said, you know, when Magnus is racing, he's in a little different position than you because, well, no, Magnus is sort of the same way. When he would come up on the swimmers, people start grabbing at their gears. And that's what you used to love, is because you came out of the water a little behind, and then here you come up through the field in Kona.
Well, I had no other choice. I mean, my swimming was not that good. I was a slower swimmer than Magnus. I could never make the front pack in the swim ever. I was always behind like people like Jan Siebers and Wolfgang Dittrich in the old days. I was like 4 minutes behind.
Yes.
And even my close competitors like Greg Welch, Luc van Leerde, they were 2 minutes ahead, and I always had to chase. And cycling was my strength, so I had to make the best out of it. I was attacking. I didn't want to sit in the pack.
Yes.
So I made it as hard as possible for everybody, and I was very popular for this. My competitor loved me.
Yes.
For all the lactic acid that I have produced. But as somebody said at NBC show, I sizzle on the bike just to get fried on the run. So the run, especially in Kona, was never satisfying. But I have to say, in Roth here, Roth, I always had a good run.
Yeah, you always. You know what's so funny? When I see you in Kona, because I'd seen you run at Powerman, and you're a really, really good runner. But it seemed like maybe it was the fluids or your body. You seemed like you looked bloated in Kona on the run.
I always look bigger when I have tight clothes on. When I have a baggy T-shirt, I look slimmer. But my weight is always the same. It has been between 76 and 80 kilogram for the last 40 years.
Oh my
it has
God.
never changed.
That is unbelievable. So when you were winning the races here, who was your main competition?
Okay, the first in the beginning it was Dirk Aschbonite.
Yes.
Because he was the German Rambo. He was the big name. I was a short distance triathlete.
You were more of the Olympic format.
And then I was a little bit upset because Dirk Aschbonite and all the Ironman athletes got all the attention. And I said to myself, okay, I'm going to Roth and qualify for Kona one time.
Yes.
I kick everybody's butt.
Yes.
Go to Kona, kick everybody's butt again. I mean, from the German side.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what I did.
Yes, you did. You came over.
And I won 1989 Roth, but it was a bit of a shorter distance.
Okay.
That's why in the statistics sometimes it's not listed as a full Ironman. It was longer than a half, but
it was
shorter.
somewhere in between.
Yeah. And then Kona in 1989 was my first Ironman and my first marathon. And then
7th, right?
I was 7th at the age of 24.
And that was the year, the Mark and Dave year. Mark Dale and Dave Scott. So you had a good view of that.
I trained with Mark, and it was so exciting. I had goosebumps in the race when I saw Mark and Dave coming side by side. But I knew Mark would get him on the last few kilometers.
Well, and you were one of the first guys to come over to San Diego and train there with them because those guys were the best. If you wanted to beat the best, you sort of had to know what made them tick.
That's why we came to San Diego, to train with legends like Scott Tinley, Mark Allen, Kenny Sousa, and this funny guy, Bob Babbitt.
Yeah, he didn't train with you guys.
No, you did. No, you were right in the mix on those days. I remember the ride and tide that you have organized.
Did you do my ride and tides?
Yes.
Looking for stuffed animals.
It was a combination of mountain bike and trail running, and you had to share the bike with two athletes, and you had to look for
stuffed
Easter
animals.
Eggs, and you got time bonus, and at the end of the day, we lost the bike. Me and Gina Simon, we lost the bike. We ended up last.
The funny part about that was I was doing that just as a sort of I had done a race with a horse, 2 people and a horse, and thought the horse was stupid, so started doing the thing with the cruiser bikes. And then the president of Brooks was looking for a cool event, so we created a thing called Muddy Buddy, and we ended up doing one year we had 18 events and 40,000 people doing Muddy Buddy events around all over the U.S.
Well, in those days, you were very famous for organizing a lot of creative, fun events. You were thinking outside the box, and you made things very interesting in San Diego.
There was never a box. So, but look at the times you were doing back then: 8:38, 8:50, 8:57. Did you every year you went to?
Wait a minute.
Yes.
As you know, this was with Kona Surf Hotel.
Yes, that was when we had the bike ride. Yep.
The pit.
Yeah,
I mean, now
run course.
The course in Kona is for softies. I mean, we rode to Kona Surf, and the first thing we had was this 18-20% steep climb. It was like a wall. Then we turned right, ran into the pit, a downhill. U-turn, went up the hill, and then another downhill. It was brutal, and for me, a bigger guy who was not that good in the heat, it was a torture.
And that's the way the run started. So you were pretty much in debt from the beginning.
When you look at the splits, like Mark Allen's run split in those days, which included all these hills, in my opinion, Mark Allen would still run as fast as the fastest triathletes nowadays.
No question.
Especially with the new shoes.
Yes, with the plated shoes. One of the things that I remember talking to Mark, and I think we were up on stage with you in Kona one year, because you were the Uber cyclist. You were the guy, you said, listen, I want to take the run out of Mark Allen's legs. I can't just sit in on a bike and ride with Mark and then he's going to run away from me. My chance is to get away. And Mark Allen's classic line was, Jurgen wants to win the bike, I want to win the race.
That's true, and it always worked out for him. I never had a chance against Mark Allen in Kona, but I did have a chance against him in Powerman Zoffing in 92 and also in Roth 94.
Did Mark race Roth?
Yes. He came here as a as a Kona champion.
Yes.
And we smashed him. We dropped him like a bad habit.
Oh, I did not realize that he did. Was it Ironman Germany then?
Yes.
Okay. So you got fourth that year. Well, no, I'm talking about Kona. Did you win that year?
94, I did win, yeah.
Yes. You were fourth in Kona and you won here. And so in 94, Mark actually did not race Kona that year.
No.
Yeah, that was the year.
But all the other races, he passed me on the run.
But the race that put you on the map, from not so much from the German side, but from the world side, was Powerman. Because I think you were off the front, and people were like, oh, he can't run. And it was a trail run. And you were a great cross-country runner. And there was Kenny Souza and Mark. There was big money in that race. There was Mark Allen and Kenny Souza and Molina, and all the big names were there.
Albert Zweifel,
yes,
the old Swiss guy.
And here you are winning this brutal race.
Yeah.
Did that change things for you in terms of more sponsorship? Because it's not like you're winning a German race; you're winning a world-class race and knocking off the best guys.
Well, I did have victories before in Roth and other races. But yes, it was maybe the first very big race, and it did put my name on the map, and people took me serious as a runner. I had the reputation, okay, Jurgen can only bike,
right?
But most people don't know that my background was running. I was a track runner. I ran 1:57 for 800 when I was 16. I have a 5,000 meter PB of 14:41, 10,000 30:29.
You ran a 30:29.
Yeah, but I still had the reputation of being the good biker only.
Right. But the deal is, you were also the most important race was Kona, and that was in the heat. And the heat was something that didn't agree with you in the run.
And it has not changed.
Really?
I moved.
And you live in Thailand.
I live in Phuket in Thailand, and I should be used to it. I can ignore it. I get away with this in the training, but when I have to perform at a high level, huffing and puffing, I suffer, especially when it's a combination of heat and humidity. I get away with dry heat, like the Middle Eastern heat, 30-something degrees, 50% humidity, but if it's 80-90%, I'm done.
So I remember when we do the Tuesday run, and Tindley would finish the Tuesday run, and you have a little spot of sweat, and Scott Molina's whole shirt would be drenched. That would probably be you too. Would you be drenched?
Of course.
Yes.
But it was early in the morning, and sometimes it was a little bit foggy.
Yes. You'd be okay.
It's not always sunny and dry in San Diego, as you know, and the trails were sometimes wet and sometimes a little bit flooded. It was sometimes a mud run. But those were good times. These were the days when we met for 11, 12 mile hilly trail fartlek run, and it ended up being like a competition. And the names who showed up, it was Mark Allen, Paul Liebe-Fraser, Scott Tinley, Kenny Souza, Wolfgang Dietrich, Rob Mackel, and so on and so on.
Well,
so
then you'd have a Tom Hunt and a Steve Scott, and some of the elite
Peter
runners
Reed,
would come.
Peter Reed, Laurie Bowden, Heather Furr.
Every Tuesday. And then you guys would reconvene on Wednesdays.
But a bit in between, we had a big breakfast at George's restaurant.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with what Mark would talk about is he says, there were times we do the Lake Wolford, the different rides out there, and said early season I did a ride with Jurgen, and Jurgen just destroyed me. And every time we come up to a little plateau thing, Jurgen would do little circles, and then so he goes. I realized that I don't want to give Jurgen confidence like this, that he's that much better a cyclist. So I didn't train with Jurgen on the bike until close to Ironman time, when I tapered for the ride we did, so that I was doing little circles when we came.
Okay, it's not true.
Not true. Okay.
Whenever I rode with Mark alone, I never tried to drop him.
Okay.
We talked about the pace we want to do, and we
working
kept
together.
Our word, and it was always the presence of other big egos,
which show
especially Spencer Smith.
Oh yeah.
His presence changed a lot in San Diego. It made everything more competitive, and every workout was a race.
Yes.
But I was known, if you remember, to do my long distance training at a lower intensity.
Yes.
It was just a coincidence that people like Norman Stadler and me were so strong, and we were racing to level to like 34, 35 average.
Yes.
On a 190k ride with 2,000 meters of climbing.
Yes.
But we were still in zone 2.
Right.
And of course, if somebody shows up who is a 40-minute slower Ironman athletes, these people are suffering.
Of course.
But in the beginning, I remember the first years, the Americans, the Californians were laughing at us.
Yes.
They said, oh, the Germans are training so slow. But we took a lot of our long, slow distance training very serious and kept it at zone 2.
I think eventually, especially Mike Pigg, realized that was important. The Phil Maffetone, slow distance was important.
Exactly, and that's what I'm still preaching now as a coach.
So now you're coaching, and you've been in Thailand for how long?
Well, I took a job 2010 in Phuket. I worked for a big sport club, Thanyapura, for 5 years, which was built for 150 million euro, fantastic facilities. And after 5 years, I left and started my own coaching company in Phuket, more at the beach area. More exciting, more fun area, and I'm doing this since, and I have about 600 athletes coming through my training per year. Yeah.
So you're a millionaire. I like it.
No.
Oh my God! I need a loan.
No, we do a lot for the community.
Yes.
So there are a lot of young Thais who train with us for free. In fact, we started a foundation.
Okay.
The Z Coaching Foundation. So we support local Thai
I was going to say, you're coaching
kids,
some of the local kids.
but also from other Asian countries.
Okay.
But we also include a few Westerner kids, because we don't want to exclude them.
Right.
And we pay for the travel expenses. We also help them to pay for education. If some of the Thais need extra English classes, we pay for this. So it's good, and it has attracted a lot of young Asians from other countries, like Indonesian champion, Vietnamese champion.
Yes.
They all come to Phuket now.
That is awesome. And if people want to find you for coaching, or because do you coach people remotely as well?
I do also online coaching. So my job is partly the group training.
Right.
We have 13 sessions per week. We are for intermediate age group up to pro level. So we're not the right training for the beginner.
Right.
So you have to be able to ride 30 kilometer per hour on the bike. Otherwise, you're not fit enough for our group. And we try to keep it safe. We always have 3-4 pace groups. And you can find me on Facebook, Z-Coaching Phuket.
I like it. Actually, I was looking back at that 92 Powerman race. So Kenny Souza and Mark Allen were 9 minutes behind after the bike ride. and they were 9 minutes back, and you won by like 4 minutes over those guys. That's pretty cool.
Well, I think they were too confident, and maybe they started to chat too much.
So the other thing that I love, 97, because for forever the race Ironman was owned by the Americans until 94. Welchie was the first non-American guy to win the race from Australia. And then in 96, Luc van Lierde. In 97 was Thomas Hellriegel. In 97, it was Thomas Hellriegel, Jurgen Zack, and Lothar Leder sweeping the podium for Germany, sort of a little foreshadowing of what was to come. When you looked at the people who followed, Norman Stadler and Jan Frodeno, and from 2013 when Sebastian Kienle won, 2019 it was Sebastian Kienle, it was Jan Frodeno, it was Patrick Lange. They won 5 years in a row. You guys have to feel good about the fact that a lot of that started with you and Wolfgang, and those you guys were the guys who pretty much introduced the Ironman to Germany.
That's true. I think especially 97, 1, 2, 3 on the podium, that broke the ice a little bit and encouraged a lot of younger athletes to make that move to Ironman. And then it was also Faris Al-Sultan and Sebastian Kienle. And but you should not forget that before the Germans always left a bit of a mark, like Hannes Blaschke. He was fourth in Kona in 1985.
And Dirk Aschmonite, obviously,
was up there. Dirk Aschmonite and Wolfgang and me in the late 80s. So there were other names also up there in the front.
People forget that they go, well, who was leading the Ironman in 1989? And they go, oh, Mark and Dave. Said, no, Wolfgang. Till about 3 miles of the run.
That's
and then
true.
Those two guys, they were going a little bit faster. But so you think the run course way more difficult back then than now?
It's too easy now.
It's too soft.
Plus, I don't know what it is, but the weather. What about the weather?
We have not had a brutal year.
We had storm, we had brutal hot and humidity, and now it's just a walk in the park.
But there's going to be a hot year. Eventually, there's going to be another crazy year. Because we had 89 was all of a sudden, the course record was 8:28, then it becomes 8:09. 90 was brutal. Remember, Tinley took second, and the carnage was everywhere.
Yeah.
So every once in a while, you get that year where the wind comes up and the heat is brutal.
89 was not too bad for the run because we did not run into the energy lab.
Right.
We stayed on the highway past the airport and then did the U-turn, and then they introduced the energy lab, which made it really hard. Because that's the hottest spot.
So that was the energy lab and the pit all at the same time. I wonder if they were...
Yes. In 1990, they had everything. They had the Kona Surf, they had the pit and the energy lab.
The energy lab.
And Mark Allen ran 241, 242, and so did Luc van Lierde.
Yeah, Luke in 90. Yeah, and when Luke came over 96, he did. Jurgen, it is such a treat to catch up with you, man. Some of our favorite competitor covers, A Clear and Present Danger. You were wearing the cool Oakleys, Clouds. It was a precursor of the Ironman that year. It was very, very fun.
Thank you very much, and I really appreciate our friendship over all these years since '89, and thank you for everything that you've done for the triathlon sport. You are the man.
Jurgen Zack has been our guest, everybody. Again, Breakfast with Bob, Challenge Roth edition, 5-time champion right here, Jurgen Zack. Hold on, everybody. We will be right back.